this evening.
Welcome, everybody. It's very cold outside, so thank you for coming in. A lot of people on Zoom as well. I understand lots of people have lots of planning to do for the potential storm, so I will not rush you, but I'll keep it moving today because I know people have things they have to do as well. So bear with me. If you need more time, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to push it. With that, do we have anybody new? I don't think so.
We do. We have Mark Entry is the new representative from the town of Wayne, or Weaverville. Weaverville. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything about yourself?
Sure. My name is Mark Entry. I was recently elected to Weaverville Town Council. I've been in the area for 16 years. My day job, I'm a transportation planner and cartographer for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I've been involved with the town of Weaverville for many years. Prior to being elected to town council, I was on the planning board for 5 years, and I also do a fair amount of recreation planning to try to get more outdoor recreation activities for the town. So, real excited to be part of this group, and look forward to working with you all.
Perfect. Thank you. We do lots of reading. Next is our ethics statement, and speaking of ethics, everyone should have gotten their ethics enrollments. Yes, was it just yesterday?
Yes,
Day before yesterday?
a
couple of days ago. Please go ahead and complete that. Otherwise, if it gets to the end of February, I'll give you a phone call.
Yeah, we want to keep all of our board members out of trouble and in line with the state ethics committee. Just as a reminder, I usually get this question. This isn't a requirement stemming from MPO staff. This is a requirement stemming from the NC, the North Carolina Ethics Commission. So please, we really enjoy having you guys and not getting you in trouble. Asha is here to help.
If you have questions or have trouble doing it, please feel free to email me.
You give very good instructions. That being said, I'll read the Ethics Awareness and Conflict of Interest reminder. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid conflicts of interest. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matters coming before the board today? If so, please identify the conflict for the record and refrain from any participation in the particular matter involved. Any conflicts? Very good. We do have 2 public comments. I'm sorry, we actually have 1 public comment today. Yes.
I'll do a mea culpa. I thought that was the sign-in sheet, so I was just shouting my name thinking I was present. And when Doug pointed out, are you going to speak? I'm like, no. So if I have to speak, buy low, sell high.
We have another commenter online who would like to make a comment as well.
Okay, perfect. We'll start with the person in the room, Carol.
Yeah.
And Spagnola.
Spagnola. All right. Do I just stand up here?
Yeah. We allow 40 minutes.
Hello, everybody. My name is Carol Spagnola. I am on the RADA board as the connections chair. I'm also an avid person that runs, walks, and uses the Amboy Greenway on the daily. So I'll put you in my position. I run this route often. About 2 weeks ago, I'm at just across the Amboy Bridge, and I'm standing right on a dirt piece of patch with intersecting traffic going this way, and nobody stopping for me to cross. I felt very vulnerable, as I always do, and I know many other pedestrians do, as we're standing there waiting to cross the street to get back on the Greenway. So I'm standing there knowing something needs to be done and we need to take action. And I understand that DOT is talking about this, and I know a permanent solution is happening, but we need to do something now. As a community, I'd love for us to be the ones that set the example and do something before something happens, and then we hit national news, which we know we do not need any more of. So what I propose is some kind of safety crosswalk for pedestrians, and it needs to have visuals. So if you have lines on the street, that's one, but we need blinking lights because a lot of people do drive pretty fast even though the light isn't that further down. And so with visual cues and flashing lights, it has them slow down a little bit, see that there are pedestrians crossing, bikers, walkers, you name it, and it just creates a safer pedestrian crossway now. And that's what we need. I started a petition that day. I have 349 signatures. I want to read a couple of the public comments that were made. Hold on here. And I do appreciate all your hard work. I know we have a lot going on right now. The Amboy Bridge is incredibly dangerous for cars, much less for pedestrians. We need a safe, protected pedestrian walkway there, or pedestrian depth. We're just going to continue to increase. I've walked this bridge before and know many others who have. Please consider the safety of our neighbors. I know that the bridge is going to be expanded eventually. I'm really addressing right after that, getting back on the Greenway. As a advocate and frequenter of the Greenway system, I feel strongly that a better planned temporary pedestrian crossing at Amboy Road be provided. We understand that long-term solutions will be a part of the Greenway plan with the city, but I am sure there's a short-term solution that can promote better visibility and safety. And one other is, please make crossing this street safe for pedestrians until we are able to fix the park. The use of the Greenway is helping heal our community, and we want all users to be safe. So with that, I do ask that we all work together and create a temporary solution for safety in a very highly trafficked area. Does anyone have any questions for me?
You hit the 3-minute mark on the...
Oh, nice. Well, that's how long I stood, just so you know, until somebody stopped for me to cross.
Is that a long? It feels like a very, very long time.
It was a long time. Yeah. All right. And then if there's actions I need to do to follow up, please let me know. I've emailed Tristan.
Yes, with the signatures?
Yes.
So, just so people are aware, we did have an email exchange about this issue. I know board member Roney was on the email. I can't remember what other board members were on there. This came to our attention from the community. We communicated this to NCDOT Division 13 as well as the City of Asheville transportation staff. My understanding, NCDOT is planning to look at this crossing and see if there's a potential vulnerable user safety project that could be submitted. And those are submitted and considered quarterly. Is that right, Doug?
I believe that's right.
So hopefully there's something, if DOT's evaluation goes to plan, then a project would be submitted to be considered for safety funding, which DOT, correct me if I'm wrong, tends to move considerably faster than a lot of kind of the bigger Amboy Meadow type projects that we talk about.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I do appreciate all of you. Stay safe this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we have one online comment.
Online, Kara, could you unmute Maddie?
She should be able to talk.
Yes, Maddie. Yes, there you go.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for Carol to saying that I'm one of those signatures on the petition. So it would be great to move fast and get something done. I'm here about NC 251. I'm sure you're not surprised that that's what I'm talking about. You know, I know Mike came in November asking DOT to do some short-term recommendations, and I'm just speaking again because I would like to know if there's any updates on that. All of those things are short-term things that I think we can do now, and we don't need to keep waiting. You know, especially the things about the local stakeholder coordination. There's 2 group rides on NC 251 every week. Like, what's it going to take to get some digital signs out there every week during those things? Like, how much does that cost? Is that ball rolling to do those things? So that's number 1, what I want to know. Number 2, I know he asked for a public awareness campaign. It's my understanding that there are some DOT used for that. So for Chuck and Billy, my question for you guys is, like, what can we do to do that? How can I be involved? Like, those are my questions with NC 251.
Thank you, Maddie.
we'll look into it, are looking into it, and appreciate your interest.
Yeah, is it possible to have some sort of date? Like, I can't keep sitting here without knowing, like, I get, some things take time, but some of this stuff can be done now. And what's it going to take to do it now?
Yeah, we will check and get back to you just as soon as we can. You understanding that?
I gave an update at a previous meeting, and over the course of about a month, DOT Traffic Services had about, I think the total was 96 signs installed in that area. We've also we did temporary striping that will be permanent striping once weather allows. Additional measures are also being evaluated, but we have moved forward with several items already in that area.
I appreciate it. Yeah. And to be clear, I did see those signs in November, and I think that is a huge positive. So thank you guys for doing that.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Any other comments?
If there's anyone else online, feel free to raise your hand or drop a comment in the chat box.
We also have public comment at the end. Next is the approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes and the consent agenda?
Make a motion.
Thank you. Jim, do we have a second? Second. Jill?
Asheville, Kim Roney.
Aye.
Black Mountain, Archie Curtiller.
Aye.
DOT Division 13, Billy Clark.
Aye.
Camden, Dr. Ralph Hamlet.
Aye.
Flat Rock, Emily Whitmire.
Aye.
Fletcher, Jim Clare.
Aye.
Haywood County, Brendan Rogers.
Aye.
Henderson County, Jay Eagle.
Aye.
Henderson County, Sheila Franklin.
Aye.
Hendersonville, Jennifer Hensley.
Aye.
Laurel Park, George Bantos.
Aye.
Madison County, Matt Wetzel.
Aye.
Mills River, Shannon Gahn.
Aye.
Montreat, Tom Widmer. Town of Biltmore Forest, Drew Stevens.
Aye.
Urban Transit, Susan Bean.
Aye.
Waynesville, Anthony Sutton.
Aye.
Weaverville, Mark Endry.
Aye.
And Woodfin, Don Powell.
Aye.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much. Next is the business items, the Black Bear Drive Campus Safety Project.
Okay, I'll keep it short and sweet. We got this request from NCDOT, similar to some other safety project requests for MPO endorsement of the project. So with us is Jay Hollingsworth from Division 14 to walk us through the project that they are proposing. Jay, please take it away.
Thanks, Tristan. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Let me know when you can see this. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
You can. Okay. Thanks, Tristan. As he said, this is a sidewalk project at Pisgah High School in Canton, North Carolina. Pretty simple project. What we have is the project need is to allow safe accommodations for pedestrians, school staff, and students to athletic facilities near campus. Pedestrians are currently walking on Pisgah Drive with traffic present, so everybody can understand the threat of that. Little site overview. Black Bear Drive is right here. Pisgah High School is going to be to the lower part or south of the screen, and they're traveling north across this intersection and up Black Bear Drive to athletic facilities near the area. And this is during school, outside of school, and any other time that is needed. So we're proposing a sidewalk that runs along Pisgah School Road and Black Bear Drive across Substation Road intersection to where sidewalk is present. So we're adding sidewalk to connect the facilities. That's pretty much all I had. Are there any questions?
Good. Yes, we do have a letter of support in your agenda packet that we are looking for approval from the board, again, to show that there's support for this project moving forward. We know that, especially with a lot of safety projects, sometimes there tends to be pushback. And so we do want to support NCDOT and our partners in helping to improve safety where our board supports that. Yes, you could get a vote of support.
I'll make a motion to approve the Black Bear Drive safety project.
Shannon Johnson, second. Dr. Ralph Hamlin, second.
Okay. Asheville, Kim Roney.
Aye.
Black Mountain, Archie Priscilla.
Aye.
DOT Division 13, Billy Clark.
Aye.
Canton, Dr. Ralph Hamlin.
Aye.
Flat Rock, Emily Whitmire.
Aye.
Fletcher, Jim Blair.
Aye.
Haywood County, Brandon Rogers.
Hey, this is Brandon. I'm just a little concerned about my business location here. It's actually on the corner there, and I'm not 100% sure if I should recuse myself from this, from getting an advantage either way. I would really like to recuse myself if I could.
I will get it put in the minutes that you had a conflict and are refraining from the vote.
Yeah, my business sets right there where the sidewalk's going to come by, so I just feel like that would be the best thing.
For,
I would like to do caution, so yes.
Yeah.
point of order, should we vote to recuse the member formally for the clarity of our minutes?
Do we have to have a vote to recuse? No, I don't think. No, we do not. We don't have to, Kim.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Councilman. Thank you.
All right, Henderson County, Jay Eagle.
Aye.
Henderson County, Sheila Franklin.
Aye.
Hendersonville, Jennifer Hensley.
Aye.
Laurel Park, George Banta.
Aye.
Madison County, Matt Wechtel.
Aye.
Mills River, Shannon Gaunt.
Aye.
Montreat, Tom Whitmer.
Aye.
Biltmore Forest, Drew Stevens.
Aye.
Urban Transit, Susan Beams.
Aye.
Waynesville, Anthony Sutton.
Aye.
Weaverville, Mark Andrews.
Aye.
And Woodfin, Jim Callister.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to the draft 2027 Unified Plan Work Program, which I call UPWIT, because we love that.
Yes, so we are halfway into fiscal year 26, which means we need to start planning for FY 27. And so, there we go. In your packet is a brief overview of the FY 2027 Unified Planning Work Program, or also known as the UPWP or the Unified or the UPWIP. There's also a link to the full document. Just a high-level overview. What is this document? Why does it matter? It is the federally required document for MPOs that reflects the work tasks that we'll be using our Metropolitan Planning Fund for the upcoming fiscal year. So anything that staff's doing, as well as any special studies that the MPO helps to fund, are required to be reflected in this document. Also of note, and it is very important with the draft document that's before you today, to note that the draft, it'll be coming up again in March. Any tasks with FTA, Federal Transit Administration 5303 funds, or planning tasks using 5307 funds are required to be in the document, and those have to be in the document today. FTA starts to process this document in January, and so this document does have considerable, the draft document has considerable weight with the transit funds that are programmed. Just just briefly on some of the changes from this current fiscal year to FY27. We're anticipating more prep work for our next 25-year plan, or the MTP, Metropolitan Transportation Plan. We don't have plans to hire a consultant this round. We are planning on going back to doing that work internally. Also, there has been a vacant fourth position at the MPO for a little while. We plan on filling that position in FY27. To note, that's going to increase our budget. The projections I have right now is our budget for MPO staff and operations is expected to go from $700,000 to $825,000. That increase is largely in part due to refilling that fourth position. But to note, for this fiscal year, we know that a lot of our local governments and a lot of our dues-paying members are looking at a significant hit, especially in the aftermath of Helene. We do have a little bit of cash reserves that we plan on covering the increase in local dues this year. But to note, if we maintain our staffing level, that will result in local dues going up for FY28. And to note, with the MPO, 80% of the funding for us comes through federal metropolitan funds. 20% comes from our dues-paying members. That includes Buncombe County, Asheville, Henderson County, Hendersonville, Haywood County, Waynesville, and Madison County. And the local dues are split up based on population. We do anticipate more work on prioritization and express design in FY27. So we are planning on talking about division needs and regional impact projects in FY27, as well as some of the express designs that we've requested get started. We did program a strategic plan, which I'll talk about a little bit more, and we did program additional funding to expand our TDM program. To note, our TDM program is funded 50% through an NCDOT TDM grant and 50% from a pot of federal funds that comes to the MPO that we use for planning studies as well as other capital projects. With the strategic plan, I've actually gotten this question quite a bit about, hey, why don't you just look at your strategic plan? The MPO has never done a strategic plan. So there's nothing for me to look at. To me, personally, this is an effort that could really help better line up some of our member needs with MPO staffing. Believe it or not, our local governments have diverse needs and requests from MPO staff. Some of our member request a lot of on-the-ground technical help. Others do not. I do think it's worth a regional conversation about how we can best serve our membership and how we can line up our staffing to best serve our members. And again, with that, federal funds cover 80%, local dues would pay 20%. Just some general ideas as staffing needs. One thing we're talking about more and more is a program engineer, both for some of our local governments who don't have an engineer to help with some smaller traffic requests, especially on local roads, but also to help with a lot of our local projects. Locally administered projects in North Carolina and within our region, and from what I've been told across the country, it's very difficult for a lot of local governments with smaller staff to administer federally funded projects. Even our local governments with very large staffs are having trouble getting some of these projects to completion. From my point of view, that is something that is going to be, is already a need that is out there. But it's one that would require a considerable investment in terms of MPO resources. Also a data analyst, just to note, several other MPOs have data analysts on staff. Member governments do, from the other MPOs, I've been told that position has been very much appreciated. And something we don't talk about a lot is we do a lot of work on our travel demand model for the region. It's usually, to be fair, too boring to bring here very often. We do talk about land use scenarios, but there's a ton of work before we even get to that step. But also just anything else that our member governments feel like regional transportation assistance would help with. Something else we've been talking about are planning-related investments. One of those is looking at regional ADA inventory and prioritization. So folks are aware, just about any pedestrian facility in the region comes with ADA requirements and some liability. And especially in our region where the senior population is considerably higher than a lot of other parts of the state and country, that's something that's pretty paramount. To me, NCDOT does make investments in ADA improvement. Having a tool that can help us target some of those investments as well as make our local governments more aware of some of the issues that are out there is something that could be helpful. But again, that would be a sizable investment. Also within the Unified Planning Work Program, we did have a call for planning projects. That was held from Halloween to New Year's Eve, festive from start to finish. We did receive 5 applications from member governments. One was a transit master plan from Buncombe County, Four Seasons Boulevard corridor study from the city of Hendersonville, Reams Creek Greenway feasibility study from the town of Weaverville, a Hilliard Avenue study from the city of Asheville, and a frog level small area plan from the town of Waynesville. Just to note, this is a slide we showed back in October. Apologies to those in the room, it's not yellow on my screen. But this is how we evaluated projects. Regional influence had the highest weight, followed by project readiness, strategic alignment, multimodal access, and growth management. This is also from October when the TCC and board approved the call for projects. We had submissions that were scored using scaling by MPO staff. So if we felt the project had the highest regional impact, it received the maximum number of points. And a project that we felt had the least regional impact, if the project submitted, got 0 points. And we did that for each category. However, scoring in general is used as a recommendation. The final decision is up to the TCC and board in terms of what goes into the Unified Planning Work Program. Something we did talk about is recommending no more than 2 studies to be programmed due to staff capacity and work required for each study. That final point has generated considerable discussion at both the prioritization subcommittee as well as the TCC. So I do want to talk about that in a second. We were asked to show the scores that were given to each project. The 2 highest scoring projects were the Buncombe County Transit Plan, which scored very well with regional influence and project readiness. Just to note, Buncombe County did receive a considerable increase in urban transit funds from the MPO. And part of the transit plan is to look at service expansions to help use those funds. The second highest scoring project was the Four Seasons Boulevard project from Hendersonville. Following that, not far behind was the Reams Creek Greenway study, followed by the Hilliard Avenue study and the frog level small area plan. I will relay what I relayed to Waynesville staff. I don't think any of these studies that were submitted are bad, so I don't want the scoring to make people too sad.
It came in the top 5.
It came in the top 5. But the criteria that we had was very much, it was geared for studies for specific projects that were closer to implementation than others. It did not emphasize projects that are meant to identify future projects like the frog level small area plan. So I want to be clear, that doesn't mean it's a bad study. It just means it didn't line up with the criteria that we had. So we are, at this point, recommending the Buncombe County Transit Master Plan and the Four Seasons Boulevard Corridor Study. Yes?
I have just an organization question. So help me out. I'm new to the board. The young lady that came up and spoke, it seems to me that she would start with a local TAC, but I don't know if Buncombe County has a TAC. Second of all, the city of Hendersonville corridor study, it seems like, you know, we had a meeting yesterday, and, you know, we didn't discuss it. Is the TAC a county thing, or it seems like the city, and it's okay. I mean, I still don't know how the organization flows. Does the city just go directly to the MPO, or does the city go to the TAC, and the TAC should? Yes, that'd be great. Thank you, sir.
I'm not taking a earlier version of the Henderson County Commission formed the TAC, for Henderson County.
For the county.
And the idea, and it's scheduled this way, is for the Henderson County TAC to meet in advance of the MPO meeting so that all of the Henderson County municipalities and the county itself have an opportunity to talk among each other. And then we arrive fairly well informed about what is on the MPO schedule. And it's worked. That started in about 2008, maybe 7 or 8, and has consistently been there. So it is an entity of your commission that has brought the Henderson County pieces together. To my knowledge, none of the other counties have done a similar thing.
No.
Or the city or anything like that.
Right.
But Jay, to help, I think, and
You know what I'm saying?
but it may have been before your and Sheila's time, the TAC did discuss and get this ball rolling probably, Kristen, a year and a half ago on the potential for the study upcoming for that.
So it did go through the TAC.
Yeah, we discussed it, but it's been like, as soon as we seen that influx of traffic headed that way, Rebecca said, we've got to figure this out. So as a TAC group, let's get the ball. So it's probably prior to y'all coming on board.
Okay,
if that helps how we got there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that too.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
I think that'll help you get to how we got here in such a hurry. It looks like it just flipped up, but no, it's been in the making for years, actually.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, thank you.
Jay, I can also add, from the city of Hendersonville's perspective, the Henderson County staff, they're the ones who set the agendas for the TAC meetings. I am not sure if Henderson County staff is, I think somebody from your staff is actually on the TCC as well. And so a lot of the times I know we just kind of rely on them to set the agendas, but if we need to create a different kind of communication back and forth as well to make sure that some of these items are getting put on the agendas, we're happy to do that from the city's perspective.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Nestle.
Thank you, Dr. Hazel.
Dr. Hensley. Excuse me.
So I do want to talk a little bit about why MPO staff recommended a limit of 2 studies, or 2 new studies, I should say. First of all, it's not that we only want to have 2 studies. First of all, we have a number of existing studies. And so right now we are working on regional ITS plans that was requested by Federal Highways. We have a travel survey update, which is expected to take 18 months to 2 years. We're working on the Weaverville Greenway study, a Buncombe County pedestrian plan, and we programmed the staff compensation study, which is not led by MPO staff, it's led by our lead planning agency, Land of Sky. One thing to note that I don't think has been entirely clear as part of this discussion is that MPO staff is required to oversee these special studies. So if we fund a $5,000 study, if we fund a $500,000 study, MPO staff is required by NCDOT and Federal Highways to oversee the study. That means we have to be part of procurement, we have to provide approvals as part of procurement, and we need to be part of the study as it moves forward. You can't just come to a local government with balloons and a jumbo check. I wish it were that easy, I promise I do. But just to know, that's a requirement. We have provided guidance. This board previously adopted a very fun document known as the MPO Subrecipient Monitoring and Oversight Plan. I'm sure everyone read every word of it. But that does lay out the various steps that are required and the different things that have to happen. So I will say, just to note, we have been asked about this. In the 11 years I've been here, something that we've started doing more and more is recommending that MPO staff manage these studies. We do that in part as a service. We know the steps that are required. It enables us to make sure that the steps are being followed properly. And to us, it also helps our local government staff worry less about that and worry more about what's actually happening in the study. However, the thing to point out is, as much as I talk about capacity, I'm not saying that we are totally tapped out or anything. But what I am saying is that special studies, from my point of view, carry a unique organizational liability when subrecipients don't follow those requirements. And in my 11 years, there have been studies where we have had to intervene, and we have had to intervene with NCDOT in order for studies to get back on track, avoid liabilities to both our organization as well as the local government. If steps aren't being followed and we're aware of it, we can't reimburse the local government. If NCDOT is aware of it, they won't reimburse us. It puts us and our ability to fund studies at risk when things like that happen. And as much as I'd love to say that never happens, it does happen, and it has happened, and it requires a lot of MPO staff work to go from not managing a project to having to get very hands-on to get things back on track. That is the main thing I'd like to note there. But in terms of limits of studies, that is ultimately a board decision about the number of studies that we want to program. Supporting our member government is our number one goal. I'd like to, from a staff perspective, voice concerns about trying to load up too many projects as we have done in the past. I believe we peaked a few years ago at 13 active studies. We're basically doing nothing but studies, folks. But ultimately, it is an MPO board decision, and managing the workload asked for from our member governments is important. So before I move on, any questions on the special studies?
Could I just make a comment, speak on behalf of the town of Weaverville and the study that we submitted? I just, wanted to advocate for our project. The town of Weaverville is highly motivated to see the Greenway happen. Not only the town, but there's also Weaverville Economic Development Advisory Committee, as well as an active Weaverville committee, all of which are very interested in seeing moving forward with our Greenway. So we've got a sort of small cadre of people that would be very interested. I noticed on the scoring that it looked like the town of Weaverville took a hit on regional influence and project readiness compared to the other top two studies. I just wanted to say, as far as it doesn't have the scope that the entire Buncombe County Transit Plan does, but for the town of Weaverville, it's got a tremendous scope. And so I think it's got a significant regional influence for the northern portion of Buncombe County. And then as far as project readiness, there was a feasibility study in 2014. This strives to update that. So I think it's ready. It's ready to go. So anyways, just advocating for the project. And the last bit I'll say as well is that our project scored closer to the top 2 winning projects than the remaining projects. And so if one was to group these projects, I think you could see the top 3 and then the bottom 2.
And not as a counter, but just to a note I forgot to make on that is part of why we, for this cycle, we're saying 2 may be a good cap, is we want to make this fairly consistent. This is something that has generated a fair amount of interest amongst our members. From my point of view, that's part of why we think a limit is a good idea, so we can keep it consistent so that if people miss out, they don't feel like they've missed the last opportunity they'll ever have. Kim, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I had a question about moving from study and analysis to implementation. So one of the curiosities I have is we have a lot of studies, regional transit master plan, cities transit master plan. Now we're going to do the Buncombe County transit master plan. And then we have multiple multimodal transportation projects that are in the queue. But I know that we want to make sure we're reaching our deliverables. So where are we also seeing the ability to expand capacity? Is staff capacity needed at the MPO, or are we going to partner with DOT? Like, how are we going to make sure that we're actually implementing and getting projects completed?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way to think about a lot of these feasibility studies is they're lining up future implementation, or hopefully they are. There is nothing within prioritization or anything else that is, if you did a study, you get extra points. I do think for our board and our groups, I do think we should have an emphasis on the projects that we know more about and trying to get those funded. That is, I think, one of the goals, especially with corridor studies, is that we want to have a little bit more certainty about what exactly a project entails. From my point of view, some of the financial struggles that NCDOT has experienced the last few years, inflation plays a huge role, but also there were a lot of projects that were funded before people knew what they were. So we budgeted for things that we didn't totally understand what they were going to entail. That's why, from a staff perspective, the Four Seasons Boulevard corridor study is something that's attractive. It's a road that I think everyone agrees sucks. We hear it in terms of congestion, we hear it in terms of safety, but I have yet to hear any solution that every single person agrees to, or there's general agreement to. And that's the kind of study we want to line up so that as we're going after actual implementation funds, we have a more clear idea of the scope, more clear idea of what our communities want, and a better picture of what kind of budget is needed. So to me, these studies are expected to help with implementation. In terms of staff capacity for these studies and others, again, we are hoping to get a 4th person on board, the MPO, that would add to our capacity and potentially, change what our capacity on this looks like in the next call for projects. I'll also note that express designs through NCDOT are another tool that we have in the toolbox for some level of looking at projects before they're funded. So that, in a way, has increased our capacity for doing similar things. And Kim, to note, we did have the Clingman Avenue intersection improvements at Patton and Tilbury. Those are high in the queue for express designs. Does that answer your question?
It does, and I know the MPO staff are just such excellent partners in the region for getting our studies and feasibility done, and there's much appreciation there. I just wanted to make sure we're connecting the dots.
Yeah. So the very last thing, I promise I'll note on this, is that while a lot of these studies seem very simple, I think you all have heard me say before, we've had a lot of projects where at the start people say this will be easy peasy, we'll knock this thing out, and at the end, years later, with more gray hairs, we say, what a miracle. The special studies, I will say, are not totally different in that regard. We have had some projects that from start to finish have been less than 18 months. We've had others that are more than 6 years. And that's just to note, that's 6 years of contract extension, 6 years of budget amendments. So I will note that knocking these projects out and off of our budget is a priority, especially for MPO staff.
Which will get more capacity later and be able to focus more on, later. I'll go off of what Kristen was saying. I think if we get too many studies, you lose focus and you're not able to get them pushed through the process. So I think limiting them is beneficial on multiple levels because it allows us to do more study at the end of the day because we're pushing them out.
Okay. Last couple of things on this item. Again, the transit funding, the 5303, that's Metropolitan Planning Funds made available to FTA. Those go to the city of Asheville, so the budget and narrative in your draft document was developed by the city. Those funds, having them in the draft document is especially critical due to FTA. But next step, we are looking for approval of the draft UPWP this month. That will be coming back through in March with final. Last thing to note, sorry, Councilmember Hensley, I forgot to mention, we did receive communication from the city of Hendersonville requesting to change the scope of the Four Seasons Boulevard study to include an additional intersection on the east side of the interchange. That is a very slight change in scope, I will note, but we will be following up with them to make sure the budget lines up with what's expected before March when this comes back.
Absolutely, and I will just add that intersection actually feeds into the intersection next to it, and we've got, I think the letter that we sent requesting that amendment had 50 crashes in the last 4 years specifically at that addition. So we just feel like it would complete the project by being able to analyze all of those intersections.
Thank you, Dr. Hensler. So what we're looking for today is an approval of the draft, noting that we can make changes before March. Correct. Is there any other discussion questions? How many TCC votes?
The TCC did vote to recommend the draft UPWP. A number of concerns about the limit on studies that was a big part of the discussion that we had. So yeah, I mean, from an MPO staff perspective, I've talked about why we've recommended the limit, but again, we understand that these are projects that are really important to communities, and we don't want to say no to helping our members. We do want to try to keep this as a consistent opportunity for our membership for future cycles.
I would just like to make a comment and reiterate, I appreciate your comments for Weaverville, and coming from previously being on council for Fletcher, I know our park is regional, and so I noticed your scoring was very comparable to the two that is going to probably be awarded. I don't know how busy Rims Creek is, but if it's anywhere near like Fletcher Park is, I could understand you wanting to speak up for that area. So I hope eventually that will work out for that area for you as well. Great comments and good analysis on that rubric. Everything else, you're right up there at the top, except for the regional. But those of us that come from the smaller communities, I so get it. Walking at Fletcher Park, oftentimes we were told over and over and over, well, we're from Buncombe and we're from Transylvania and we're from so it's a blessing and a curse. People love your area so much that they flock to those types of parks, and so hopefully eventually you'll get awarded for a study for that.
Are you looking for a motion?
I am.
I make that motion to approve the draft UPWP 2027 draft.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Dr. Hensley. Roll call.
Okay. Asheville Kimberly.
Aye.
Black Mountain Archie Priscilla.
Aye.
DOT Division 13 Billy Clark.
Aye.
DOT Division 14 Jeff McGrady.
Aye.
Buncombe County Drew Ball.
Aye.
Buncombe County Parker Sloan. Camden Dr. Ralph Hamlet.
Aye.
Flat Rock Emily Whitmire.
Aye.
Fletcher Jim Flair.
Aye.
Haywood County Brandon Rogers. Henderson County Jay Edolph.
Aye.
Henderson County Sheila Franklin.
Aye.
Hendersonville Jennifer Hensley.
Aye.
Laurel Park George Vanta.
Aye.
Madison County Matt Wetzel. Mills River Shannon Gaunt.
Aye.
Mullen Tree Tom Woodmer.
Aye.
Biltmore Forest Drew Stevens.
Aye.
Urban Transit Susan Bean.
Aye.
Waynesville Anthony Sutton.
Aye.
Weaverville Mark Andrews.
So just to be clear, this is to recommend the two projects?
Recommend the full work plan, including the special studies for FY27.
No.
And Woodbin Jim Cowser.
Aye.
Yeah.
Thank you. I cringe every time I see this. I'm sorry. Next is the 2026 safety target.
Oh my God. You want me to leave?
No, it's not quite there.
All right, with us today is Brian Murphy from NCDOT. Brian we bring him here every year to talk about safety targets. I am so thankful. And I will just note Brian's work on this and everything in safety. I've worked with Brian quite a bit on statewide committees and other things. Brian, you are a tremendous resource. Always said that. Thank you. Please take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I appreciate that. And can somebody just confirm that they can see the slides?
We can.
Great, thank you. Well, I'll start off by saying there's a lot of information on your package. I'm not going to go through all of that today. There's a lot of information about statewide data trends from a traffic safety perspective, and also some information about what those trends look like within your MPO area specifically. The part I will touch on today is safety performance measures, kind of the background of why we do those, since that's the topic at hand for today. In your package is also a number of safety data resources that are listed out there, and a couple that are highlighted. I'll touch on just one of those today that's fairly new, and then of course I'll be around if there's any questions or discussion. So jumping into safety performance measures, why do we do these? What is this all about? So safety performance measures are required by federal funding bills. It is required for state DOTs and MPOs to set targets for the 5 performance metrics that you see on the screen there. Those are the number and rate of fatalities, number and rate of serious injuries, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And Federal Highways does prescribe exactly how they want to see that information relayed back to them so that it's consistent between states and MPOs. And so those targets are based on 5-year rolling averages. They are for calendar years. And as many of you are aware, this is something that we establish annually. So the state reports their safety targets by the end of August with other information that we have to report back to Federal Highways. The MPO has to report back by February 27th. How are targets set? So that's where there is some flexibility. The Federal Highways does leave it up to the states and MPOs to come up with the methodology to set their own targets. The MPO can adopt the state's methodology, or they can come up with their own, and more on that from Tristan in a moment. So how does the state set their targets? So the state's targets are tied back to our Strategic Highway Safety Plan, and that plan is not just a DOT document, it is a state document that kind of sets the vision for how we intend to tackle traffic safety issues. So DOT is a partner in that. There's also MPOs, RPOs, there's public health, there's enforcement. There's a wide stakeholder base that have a voice in this plan. And with each plan cycle, they do adopt a goal. And the goal that we're currently working under is on the right side of your screen there, and that's to reduce all fatalities and serious injuries by half by 2035, moving towards zero by 2050. So that's obviously a very aggressive goal, but again, that was derived and that was adopted by our executive committee for highway safety by again a large stakeholder base. So how do we actually turn that goal into safety targets? So we know our historical history of our performance in fatalities and serious injuries. We know where we want to be based on that goal, which is, again, half by 2035. And so we can do some math to tell us if we're making steady progress towards that goal, where do we need to be each year? And that's how we come about those targets, safety targets for each year. Assessment. So FHWA does assess the states as to whether they have met those goals or made significant progress. We were last assessed in 2025. Federal Highways does not directly assess the MPOs towards meeting those safety targets. It is a requirement. It is something that you have to report in your MTP. It is also something that you have to show in your MTP how you are programming projects in order to contribute to that goal. So the MPO, again, is not directly assessed, but if the state's going to meet their goals, obviously we've all kind of got to be working in the same direction there. So again, I mentioned we were last assessed, the state was last assessed early last year, and based on Federal Highways review, we did not meet or make significant progress towards achieving those goals. Again, MPOs are not assessed, but if you were, again, you would see similar results as to the state as far as not meeting or making significant progress toward those goals.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt for a second?
Please.
35, back one, page 35. Okay. You mentioned somewhere along the lines that for the year, they went in the opposite direction. They did not meet their goals, something like that, correct?
Yeah, we did not meet or make significant progress towards those safety targets, yeah.
Do those safety targets change or have to take into account population?
So the targets themselves do not. It's really just based on the number of fatalities and serious injuries and non-motorized fatalities and serious injury. The two that are based on rate are based on VMT, or 100 million vehicle miles traveled. So it's based on the amount of motor vehicle activity within the state, and then of course the MPO targets are based on that same metric within your MPO boundary. So population itself is not directly part of the targets.
Because it seems to me, if you had 1 out of 100, but then you had 2 out of 500, yes, your number doubled. Went the wrong way. It doubled. It didn't go down. It doubled, but your population was times 5. So it seems to me like you're going in the right direction. And if you look at it that way, and I just seem to think Western North Carolina, the state of North Carolina itself, there seems to be an influx of population, and we might not be doing as bad as we think we are on these targets. But I don't know. I'm not a guy, so I may be wrong. I'm sure I'm wrong.
It's a great question. It is another way, certainly, to look at safety metrics. Again, today we're speaking specifically at those 5 metrics that we're required to report at the MPO and state level in regards to safety. It's a great question, though. It is another way, certainly another way to look at a rate-based metric for safety. Those rate of fatalities, rate of serious injury, that vehicle mile travel is very closely tied to population. So typically when you see more people in an area, you do see an increase in vehicle mile travel as well, which is accounted for in that rate. So not directly tied to population, but again, another way that this could be looked at. Good question.
But even with population, like if someone's walking on the side of the street, that is counted as a fatality. So even if they're not driving, but there are more people walking because there's more population, that's going to affect that without 0 miles traveled.
Exactly. Yeah. The vehicle mile travel is not a perfect metric by any means. It does not consider non-motorist activity. We really do not have a good way to measure non-motorist activity, at the state or within a region even.
Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt.
No, guys, perfect. Great questions. Again, I won't go into all the numbers on the screen here. I'll just simply use this slide to say that there's a lot of safety information specific to your MPO area. There's some information in your slide. There's a ton of information online, which will kind of lead me here to safety data resources. I'll just mention one that we've developed and published recently, and that's our statewide crash data dashboard. And so this is one the dashboard is updated monthly, so it's fairly fresh, and you can go in and choose your MPO or planning organization boundary. You can choose if you rather choose a county or a city. You can drill in, based on the boundary or municipality or whatever that you choose there, and all the numbers will change and reflect to show that boundary that you've chosen. So it's another way to kind of see maybe what's going on in a little bit more a smaller area or more confined boundary. So we have several of these dashboards out here like this. We have some for non-motorist crashes, and we also have all of our safety projects are also geolocated and served up on a website like this. So you can see all those projects in your specific area and kind of the status of those projects, whether they're complete or in design or in what stage they're at specifically. And I know there's a question earlier about safety projects. They are selected quarterly, and so that is the idea, so that we can be more responsive with safety funds, whereas your TIP projects are obviously on a much longer life cycle compared to safety projects. So with that, Tristan, I'll be glad to turn it back over to you, and of course I'll be online in case there are any questions now or later.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Brian. Taking us to kind of our choice on the matter. Second slide should be popping up. One thing really quick that Brian mentioned are some of the safety resources. One thing that hasn't been updated since 2022, but Brian, I think it's awesome. Our rankings for different counties and municipalities, they use a mixture of different crash statistics. In general, this works maybe the opposite. If you think being ranked higher means you're doing worse in terms of crashes and things like that. You want to be ranked lower. There's some of the counties in our region. They rank municipalities municipalities with more than 10,000 in population. There's some of ours, also municipal rankings with less than 10,000 in population. Again, that's from 2022, and that is out of 448 municipalities. I don't want Tom Widmer to feel left out. Tom, you might notice Montreat isn't listed there. It's actually unranked.
I did notice that.
I would, Tom, if you thought for a second I forgot about Montreat, you take offense to that. I dug into this a little bit. There's been no reported crashes in Montreat between 2019 and 2024. Way to go, Tom.
Well, actually, Tristan, I was in a crash in Montreat, so the data may
Oh, sorry, Tom. That did not show up in the database. I'll look into that some more. So to get us back on target, we do have a choice to make about the safety targets that we want to adopt for 2026. I'll leave it as somewhat of a binary choice at this point. There's NCDOT safety targets, which are more aggressive, as we've talked about now and in the past. And then there's also the MPO targets that are less aggressive. That's based on our safety plan. Just as a reminder, no other MPO set their own safety targets until we did last year. And just as a reminder, not setting safety targets, let's not do that. That has some repercussions I won't go down. So we did set our own safety targets. I will say I think there's a number of other MPOs considering doing the same this year. Just as a reminder, the safety target that we set was from our Safe Streets for Western North Carolina plan, which looked at a 10% reduction in fatal and serious crashes by 2035, an additional 45% by 2045, and moving towards zero by 2050. We did have I believe 4 months of robust discussion on this. Quick note, regardless of how you feel about these targets, these have been fantastic discussions about safety in our region. So I just want to note that. This is just to reflect kind of the choice. In black reflects the current trend lines that we're on based on 5-year averages. For fatal crashes, red is the MPO's target if we were to go along with the MPO safety plan, and blue is the target going along with the NCDOT targets. It's pretty much the same story across our 5 performance measurements. There's your fatality rates, there's the trend line and 2 different targets, serious injury rate, and non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. Just overall, the MPO 2026 target is, I think, based on last year's discussion, less aggressive but more realistic than the NCDOT target. And we are looking for considering adopting a target today. We did leave a month buffer due to the past discussions, but I will note the TCC did recommend adopting NCDOT safety targets, and part of the message there was they felt that aggressive target setting helps send a message about how aggressive they want to be about addressing safety and reducing crashes and showing that disparity of where we want to be and where we are, they said was of interest.
To be careful and just set it at 0. If that's what you want to achieve at the end of the day. I won't get us started on that road, sorry. So, any comments?
Well, I'll just say again, as you create the Coosa Trail and widen that and lengthen that, and there are other things going on in different counties, and we are encouraging people to bike and walk and exercise, and as we keep encouraging people to do that, your actually denominator of vehicle miles traveled may reduce, but your numerator is going to increase, especially as you get population. So this is, I don't care what the number is, it's going to be a bad number because of a population increase, more people biking, more people walking, which is all a good thing, and yet the vehicle miles are going down, so I wouldn't be surprised if the number goes up. But if you take into account the population increase, it may go down. So I don't care what y'all do. It doesn't matter to me. It's not a good number.
The operating word is we.
Yeah,
We do, right? And we've had some very large projects in our region as well that we've had lots of action in, right? And whenever those projects come to fruition, like 26 and 40, naturally, the fatalities are going to go down. So
well, I know our crashes went up in Henderson because of the construction in the last 5 to 6 years. Being some fatal crashes due to, operator or whatever. So now that section has opened and things have gone back to some sense of normalcy, but I agree with Jay. The more that population increases, the more cars you're going to have, the more pedestrians you're going to have, the more bikers you're going to have. So whereas I'd love to see it decrease, but I'm in agreement that the target we did last year is the more reasonable one, the more achievable one, the one that makes more sense to me than going with the state.
So I agree with Mr. Blair. I think it's, 1 year is not really long enough to measure, I think. So I would move that we maintain the same target y'all adopted, or that we all adopted last year.
Yes. We got a question. Second.
We do, Board Member Roney does.
Yeah.
So, first off, the MPO target is guided by the most recent study. Am I correct in that?
Correct, that's right.
And when did that community engagement around the Safe Street study wrap up?
That wrapped up in the summer of last year.
Okay. What I was hearing you say, and I know I've talked with our city staff, is that the recommendation from our parallel body is to adopt the DOT target because it shows the urgency and the severity of the outcomes. And I always am wondering how DOT is, because you got to match that with funding, right? What does it look like for us to have the funding to get different outcomes? Because we're talking about design speeds and implementation. So does adopting the DOT's safety targets strengthen our funding advocacy?
I mean, this is the question, part of the question that comes up annually is, and this is honestly where I hope safety targets will have a bigger impact in the future. Right now, the only real consequence of not achieving our targets is that the state has to spend down their safety funds, which they do so already. Something we've talked about in Raleigh as a prioritization work group is we have these targets. We have congestion, we have maintenance, we have safety. We should be looking at those targets more and making investment decisions based on what are the areas where we're doing great, what are the areas that really need more help. And as of right now, we don't have that. So in terms of impact on anything else, I would say right now, Brian, step in if I'm wrong, but right now it's as good as an argument as an individual can make it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, if the question was, is there a way to squeeze out more safety funding as it relates to safety targets? Not really. I think the benefit that we've really seen in safety targets is having conversations like this that we were not having years ago. And so I think bringing some awareness to this, there are some movements to make safety a bigger part of for example, STI scoring, which is what Tristan was alluding to. There is more attention, and we recently just got permission to do a pilot project to utilize TAP funds for safety improvements. And so there's some momentum building, and these conversations help us to make the case when those opportunities arise.
With that information and with the staff recommendation, are we looking for action today, including a vote?
Yeah, and we have a motion and a second on the table, actually, to approve the MPO target.
Okay.
Yeah. I think what it's doing is actually, by setting our own, it's actually achieving the goal of having more conversation about it. Because the outcome actually, whatever we set, it doesn't really affect the funding. So it's actually creating more conversation about having our own. That's just something. Yes.
That was kind of what I was going to ask, is what's the benefit of applying MPO targets opposed to just adopting the NCDOT targets?
I think it's been a point of conversation over the years, and I do think that a big driver in the conversation, board members, tell me if I'm wrong, has been that the trend line going the opposite direction of the targets from NCDOT has made people feel like the targets are more disconnected from reality. And I think the urge to adopt more realistic and achievable targets has been the driver in this conversation, while still maintaining kind of that long-range goal of we want to work towards zero, but we recognize that the resources to fundamentally change the trend lines right now are fairly limited. And so that's why 2035 is where the 10% cutoff is. That's where the current state transportation improvement program and its investments are laid out till. And hoping that in the future we can make decisions that further impact and increase the impact of our safety plan.
So, to reiterate, we had a motion and a second to adopt the MPO 2026 target on the table. Yeah.
Okay. Asheville, Cameroni.
Aye.
Black Mountain, Archie Pertiller.
Aye.
DOT, Division 13, Billy Clark.
Aye.
DOT, Division 14, Chuck McGrady. Buncombe County, Drew Ball.
Aye.
Buncombe County, Parker Sloan.
Aye.
Canton, Dr. Ralph Hamlet.
Aye.
Flat Rock, Emily Whitmire.
Aye.
Fletcher, Jim Flair.
Aye.
Haywood County, Brandon Rogers. Henderson County, Jay Eagle.
Aye.
Henderson County, Sheila Franklin. Aye. Hendersonville, Jennifer Hensley.
Aye.
Laurel Park, George Banta.
Aye.
Madison County, Matt Wetzel. Mills River, Shannon Goss.
Aye.
Montreat, Tom Whitmer.
Aye. And I laud the MPO for taking the first step and being a realistic goal setter.
Biltmore Forest, Drew Stevens.
Aye.
Urban Transit, Susan Bean.
Nay.
Waynesville, Anthony Sutton.
Aye.
Weaverville, Mark Andrews.
Aye.
And Woodfin, Jim McAllister.
Aye.
Yeah, got it.
Thank you. I think it actually does set the conversation. I think it does. Next is the non-discrimination statement. This was based on a conversation we had 2 or 3 meetings ago, and Jim McAllister brought this to our attention as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So on October 16th, 2025, the French Broad River MPO passed an update to its Title VI plan. As the chair mentioned, during discussion of the Title VI plan, the board inquired about adding sexual orientation to the non-discrimination policy. Staff was asked to come back and to review regulations and come back with solutions relative to the addition of sexual orientation to the non-discrimination policy. And so that's the discussion before you today. Just as a reminder, Title VI was enacted as part of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1964. It prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. The Title VI non-discrimination statement, and this is the actual statement that is in the document itself, states that it's the policy of Atlantic Sky Regional Council as the federal aid recipient and the lead planning agency for the French Broad River Metropolitan Planning Organization to ensure that no person shall, on the grounds of race, color, national origin, limited English proficiency, sex, age, or disability, including low income or applicable, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be otherwise subjected to discrimination under any of our programs and activities as provided by Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Civil Rights Restoration Act of 1987, and other permanent non-discrimination authorities. Just to clarify where we got that statement comes directly from the non-discrimination statement from NCDOT, and as presented in the Title VI plan, it's pulled from the NCDOT template document for Title VI plans. We went back to NCDOT Office of Civil Rights and posed the questions to them about adding sexual orientation to the Title VI plan, and this is the feedback that we got. Sexual orientation is covered under Title VII, which falls under EEO or HR on discrimination policy statement that lists the basis of discrimination. Sex is one of these bases under Title VII, which includes sexual harassment and sexual orientation. Sexual orientation should not be included in any of the Title VI non-discrimination policy statement or plans. It is not included in the Title VI law. So to give a little bit of background on Title VII, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act prohibits employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin, and the Supreme Court's 2020 Bostock versus Clayton County decision clarified that sex discrimination includes bias against sexual orientation and gender identity, making it illegal for employers to refuse to hire or harass someone based on their sexual orientation. It's impossible to do so without considering their sex. So taking into account the guidance issued by NCDOT, the proposal before you today is to create a standalone non-discrimination statement to be posted on the NPO website and to be featured in core NPO planning documents. We did some research to find out other NPOs and Council of Governments that have done that outside of their Title VI policies, and I brought those back in front of you today. Highlighted are the bases that they protect for discrimination on. I'm not going to belabor the point and read each one of these statements out loud, but the Lexington area NPO prohibits discrimination based on race, color, and national origin, also gender disability or sexual orientation. Birmingham NPO prohibits discrimination on race, color, national origin, ethnicity, immigration status, sex, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, age, religion, veteran status, familial or marital status, disability, medical or genetic condition, or any other characteristic protected under applicable federal or state law. Staunton, Augusta, Waynesboro Metropolitan Planning Organization covers race, color, national origin, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, religion, creed, or disability. North Front Range MPO covers race, color, national origin, sexual orientation, sex or gender, disability, or age. Coastal Region NPO covers race, color, national origin, religion, age, disability, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, marital status, familial status, parental status, political beliefs, genetic information, income, or other protected categories. And the Naugatucket Valley Council of Governments has race, religion, color, national origin, gender, including pregnancy, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, age, status as a protected veteran, status as an individual with a disability, or other applicable legally protected characteristics. WWW Interstate Planning Commission is race, religion, sex, national origin, ethnicity, age, disability, political affiliation, color, marital status, military or veteran status, sexual orientation, or any other characteristic prohibited by law. And so after reviewing those and the guidance from the board, the suggested language modified directly from the Title VI plan to be a standalone statement to be posted on the MPO website and key planning documents is as follows. It is the policy of the French Broad River Metropolitan Planning Organization to ensure that no person shall, on the grounds of race, color, national origin, limited English proficiency, sex, sexual orientation, age, income, status, or disability, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be otherwise subjected to discrimination under any of our programs or activity. And this is the language recommended by staff and the TCC as well. And so with that, I can entertain any questions.
Yes. Why is limited English proficiency all capitalized?
That's how it appears in the template document from NCDOT, because the Title VI plan also deals with limited English proficiency as one of the elements of the plan that we're to put forward.
Mirrors NCDOT.
It does.
Yes. I don't want to ask you silly questions here, but is there a reason we didn't include veterans and all the other ones in our statement when, like Coastal and Birmingham had that in?
Just in keeping in line with the direction of the board that was given. Yes, sir.
Yes,
what is gender orientation omitted from the statement?
The same reason, because the board just directed us to look at sexual orientation, and so we stayed within those parameters.
Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb and say we did the smorgasbord, just add to it. I like the veterans, gender identity. I mean, why not just make it as inclusive as possible?
I understand that you want to adopt a standalone statement because I'm seeing and hearing that NCDOT informed MPO staff that Title VI plan was not appropriate venue to include that. So I'm getting that. But then you just read what Title VII is, and why is Title VII not sufficient to just adopt that or add that instead of doing a standalone statement of this, and so if there's cases that prove that Title VII is sufficient for non-discrimination, don't get me wrong, I don't want to discriminate anybody at all, but I would prefer just to add Title VII. I'm sure that's a different motion or whatever, but just some thoughts.
I think the reasoning behind it is most people don't understand what Title VII is. Right. And it's a clarification point. Like if I told you Title, you're coming under Title VII, that's just
Well, Title VI would be the same way for many. So, I feel like Title VI is wonderful, and that's always meant a lot to me, all-encompassing, although I understand it's not specific enough for some. And so when I was looking at Title VII, if you want to go back a couple of slides, I thought that, okay, well, that's good. And I appreciate the board's work and going from one county or one area to the other, trying their best to qualify or pull it together. It's just personal thoughts. It's not a game changer for me. It's just I know how I am, how I feel about Title VI and Title VII. But if the rest of the board doesn't feel like this is all encompassing enough, I mean, it's fine. I understand you're asking for a motion to approve a standalone statement.
My point would be, if the Supreme Court has clarified it, then why don't we clarify it and say it, that it includes it and be done with it?
Yes, Kim.
I think the thing that came up in our last board meeting is that multiple members within our MPO have non-discrimination ordinances in place. And so we were seeking some alignment. So in the spirit of that, if we can fast forward back to the slide that has the staff recommendation, the city of Asheville and Buncombe County have a standing non-discrimination ordinance that includes veteran status and natural hair. So I would say I move to approve the recommendation by staff with the addition of, I think we said her gender expression and also veteran status and natural hair, just to be in alignment with our existing members.
From Buncombe County.
Not just Asheville and Buncombe County, but those are two of the members.
Now we have a motion.
I would second that.
Now we have a second. Any other discussion? Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Jim.
So just to make sure, we are voting on to approve the standalone statement with the addition of veterans, gender identity, and natural hair.
Correct.
Okay. Want to make sure I had it written right. Okay. Asheville, Kimroni.
Aye.
Black Mountain, Archie Fertiller.
Aye.
BOT Division 13, Billy Clark.
Aye.
BOT Division 14, Chuck McGrady. Buncombe County, Drew Ball.
Aye.
Buncombe County, Parker Sloan.
Aye.
Canton, Dr. Ralph Hamlet.
Aye.
Flat Rock, Emily Whitmire.
Aye.
Fletcher, Jim Flair.
Aye.
Haywood County, Brandon Rogers. Henderson County, Jay Eagle.
Aye.
Henderson County, Sheila Franklin.
Aye.
Hendersonville, Jennifer Hensley.
Aye.
Laurel Park, George Vanta.
Aye.
Madison County, Matt Wexel. Mills River, Shannon Gaunt.
Aye.
Montreat, Tom Whitmer. Biltmore Forest, Drew Stevens.
Aye.
Urban Transit, Susan Bean.
Aye.
Lanesville, Anthony Sutton.
Aye.
Weaverville, Mark Andrews.
Aye.
And Woodfin, Jim McAllister.
Aye.
So I've had it.
Next is the prioritization subcommittee vacancy.
Okay. This is our last voting item for today. The prioritization subcommittee, also known as the nitty-gritty subcommittee, is a subcommittee of the MPO whose primary job is to help make recommendations on the prioritization process. So it very much gets into the weeds on a lot of the recommendations that are made to the TCC board about prioritization. It has also been a subcommittee that's overseen a number of other efforts, so we're trying to hone it back to prioritization. So to note, the roster based on the bylaws is made up of 3 board members and 4 TCC members. We do have a new vacancy from the MPO board. That was Catherine Cordell from the town of Weaverville. She is no longer on the Weaverville Town Council. So we do have a vacancy, and we do need a member of the MPO board appointed to refill our roster. To note, the meetings are the first Wednesday of every month at 9:30 in the morning. There is a virtual option, and I will warn that meetings range anywhere from, I think we were at 35 minutes this past month, which was just shocking. It was great.
It's usually 3 hours.
Yeah, I think we've passed 4 hours on a number of occasions. But it's a subcommittee that's been extremely helpful to staff, and if you want to get in the weeds on some of this stuff, this is the subcommittee to do it.
Do we have any volunteers or any nominations? If not, I can make a nomination from the chair. I'll make a nomination for Mark Interest to join the prioritization subcommittee. Is that for the second? Will you accept that nomination? I accept. Okay, yeah. So then you have to vote.
Asheville Shimroni.
Aye.
Black Mountain Archie Pertiller.
Aye.
DOT Division 13 Billy Clark.
Aye.
DOT Division 14 Chuck McGrady. Johnson County Drew Ball.
Aye.
Johnson County Parker Sloan.
Aye.
Canton Dr. Ralph Hamlet. Blackhawk Emily Whitmire. Fletcher Jim Clare.
Aye.
Haywood County Brandon Rogers. Henderson County Jay Egoff.
Aye.
Henderson County Sheila Franklin. Aye. Hendersonville Jennifer Hensley.
Aye.
Laurel Park George Banta.
Aye.
Madison County Matt Wexel. Mills River Shannon Gaunt.
Aye.
Montreat Tom Woodburn.
Aye.
Biltmore Forest Drew Stevens.
Aye.
Urban Transit Susan Bean.
Aye.
Waynesville Anthony Sutton.
Aye.
Weaverville Mark Andrews.
Aye.
And Woodfin Jim McAllister.
Mark, with my appreciation, aye. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you'll make a great addition to the prioritization subcommittee. So thank you.
Thank you, folks. And just to note that meeting is open to anyone. If anyone's interested in joining, there's not a ton of voting. It's always just open for discussion, especially from MPO, board, ECC, and members from the ECC.
We usually have quite a few people join and we have an open conversation.
Yeah, so if you are to go and want a few more hours of transportation discussion, there's many of you out there. Anyone is always welcome.
Next, going to informational items, locally coordinated plan update.
Okay. This is an update on the 25-26 locally coordinated plan. Something that we've got going on in the background. And a locally coordinated plan, also known as the Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan, is a strategy developed primarily for seniors, individuals with disabilities, and low-income residents. It's federally required under FTA Section 5310, which you'll recall is one of the funding categories that we bring before you every year. It's focused on improving transportation for older adults, individuals with disabilities, and people with limited income. It's developed collaboratively among transit providers, human service agencies, and the public. Why are we updating the plan now? The LCP was last adopted in 2018. FTA recommends updates every 4 to 5 years. In addition to that, regional demographics and service needs have evolved since the last update. There's a need to align with upcoming Section 5310. That is hard to read.
For people that's not already in the room, they're doing work on the roof, so all the screens are jumping all over the place.
That aligns us with upcoming Section 5310 and JARC grant cycles and the newly adopted Elevate 2050 plan. And just to note that our previously scheduled efforts to update the LCP through NCDOT created delays to this update cycle, so we're a little bit behind the 8 ball here. The plan purpose and outcomes are to identify transportation needs and gaps, to coordinate services among providers, to develop strategies and projects for funding, and to prioritize eligible projects for Section 5310 and JARC funds. When we do our Section 5310 and JARC call for projects, this is the plan that folks look to justify their project submissions and give us more information about how they correspond to our already adopted plans. And the design is to support equitable and efficient regional transportation mobility. Who's involved? MPO staff is the lead planning agency. We also involve transit providers, human service agencies, health and workforce partners, and riders and advocacy groups. This is an overview of the planning process. Right now, we're in our kickoff and advisory committee formation stage. We just had our first meeting on January 5th to get the plan kicked off. Transitioning from that, we'll be moving to our inventory of services and needs assessment, followed by a gap and overlap analysis, and then coordinating strategies and prioritization, followed by public and stakeholder engagement, and then producing a draft and final plan for adoption. Public and stakeholder engagement is designed to be inclusive and collaborative. The engagement methods will include workshop and focus groups and the use of online surveys to cast the net as widely as possible. Expected deliveries is the comprehensive service inventory, so we'll understand what transit services are available in the region, a needs and gap analysis, so we'll understand where we sit today, coordination and funding strategies for accomplishing, filling in those needs and gaps, a prioritized list of projects for Section 5310 funding, and a final plan document for the board's adoption. The schedule, this is intended to be a 9 to 12 month process, so the kickoff was in January. We're moving into the inventory needs analysis or assessment, which we anticipate will take place from February to June. We'll solicit public input throughout the process, and then our plan is to have a draft plan for the board's review in August with final adoption in December or January. Our next steps are to begin data collection and outreach and provide regular updates to the board with our set target adoption in Q1 2027. So with that, I can entertain any questions.
Any questions for David? So this whole process then will come to the board in a year for a vote?
Yes, yeah, and we'll do updates along the way.
Perfect, thank you. Next is Division 13 updates.
Division 13 updates. I do want to go back and revisit the 251 update that we gave at the last meeting. I know we had a lengthy meeting last time, and it was right there at the end, but we recognize the public interest in the safety improvements along 251, a corridor that serves both destination traffic, including commercial and construction vehicles, and some of our most vulnerable road users, such as bicyclists. While some of the suggestions we received would require legislative action beyond our current authority, we're actively implementing several measures within our scope to enhance safety. We have speed limit reduction. Speed limit ordinances have been approved, reducing speed limits to 35 miles an hour through Woodfin and 45 miles per hour up to the NC 251 Business 25 split. Bicycle signage, we've installed bicycle warning signs at every intersection, along with additional signage approximately every mile in between intersections. Striping, we've completed temporary striping and will be completing permanent striping in the spring as seasonal limitations allow. Also, we're doing ongoing evaluation and are reviewing additional safety measures, including the analysis of runoff road crash data to identify further opportunities for improvement. Additional speed limit monitoring may take place as part of the ongoing evaluations. We do appreciate the continued engagement from the community and local partners and remain committed to making this corridor safer for all users. As far as our regular construction updates, we do have out on I-40, the 2513 project that's currently going on. Phase 2 construction is ongoing, the lane narrowed in each direction. Construction of new ramp 44A is ongoing with the substructure of the bridge over the railroad nearing completion. Crews have started working on sound and noise walls and retaining walls needed for the new off-ramp. We are also on I-26. The Parkway Bridge demolition was completed in December. Also, all of the concrete pavement was completed in December. We are going to be moving eastbound to the eastbound alignment in March, and each direction will be 2 lanes during that time to complete exit 35 and median work. You can expect some lane closures on the Parkway over the next few months. Our resurfacing and pavement preservation has slowed because of seasonal limitations and obvious weather related things. Also, just as a note, we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 Helene Bridge replacements in design with construction coming just in the French Broad area itself. As far as project development updates, they remain largely unchanged since last time we met, and I'm glad to take any questions for Division 13 that anybody might have.
Any questions for Division 13? Thank you. It's looking good on 26. Division 14.
Hey everybody, this is Steve Williams. Let's see, hang on just a second. Let me change my spreadsheet real quick. Okay, so on the project development side of things, it's the same projects that you've been seeing for a while. I don't think that there's any schedule changes since our last meeting, so everything's kind of holding there. On construction updates, in Haywood County, there is one bridge that was added. Construction started this year or end of last year, and that's the bridge on Coleman Mountain Road over Jonathan Creek. That's the only project that's been added. The I-26 project in Henderson County is for the most part finished. So you'll see that hanging out on the spreadsheet until vegetation is established in the spring and all the things on the punch list have been addressed. And the Highland Lake Road project, that construction, the completion date's moved out a couple of months. We anticipated that, and it's set that at the end of last year. The completion date's now April of this year, and that's the only change on the construction projects. Reminder that these spreadsheets, Division 13 and 14, are on the French Broad River MPO's website. So if you see anything that you have a question about later, just let us know. Any questions for Division 14? All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Next is Daniel Sellers with Transportation Planning Branch.
All right, thank you. I just want to do a quick update on the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Plan, what we call the NEVI plan. There is a new round of requests for proposals that will be opening up in the first quarter of this year. The North Carolina Department of Transportation recently completed building out the first round and receiving our federal recognition for completing the construction of electric vehicle charging stations along our designated alternative fuels corridors. And since we've met that milestone, we can proceed to new target locations. And so when you see that request for proposal come out, you work with people to submit. There are 2 designated corridors in the region, both on I-26, one from Weaverville north and the other one from the airport south. And these 2 corridors were identified because of the large cluster of potential exits with significant development within 1 mile of the exit. And it is one of 15 identified corridors across, or 2 of the 15 identified corridors across the state that we're looking to fund programs or construction in this second round. And besides that, everybody should have seen the freight survey that Tristan emailed out. That is closed in case you haven't, but hopefully people got their comments in. I know I did, and it was very long, and I thank everybody who took the time out of their day to submit comments. That's all for me today.
Any questions for Daniel?
Daniel, do you know when NCDOT plans to revisit its designated corridors? Because this board did adopt a resolution requesting that 2374 be added to those corridors, and the NEVI plan stops pretty much at Waynesville right now, and there's a good deal of the state to the west that pursuing those investments has been a request from this board.
I'm trying to speed read the press release to see if there's anything in here, and I don't see it. So my best recommendation would be to get in touch with the statewide planning group. Pam Cook, I think, is heading that up as the statewide planner, and she'll be able to give you a timeline on any future updates.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is subcommittee work group reports.
You've got subcommittee and work group reports in your packet. I won't belabor the point. Our subcommittees and work groups continue to be active. A couple of things just to note. A bit of good news. For those who don't remember, there was a pedestrian safety call for project held last fall. As a reminder, that was Transportation Alternatives Program funds that are federal funds that come to NCDOT that needed to be programmed. They were matched with toll credits from other toll projects in the state. So it was basically funds available for pedestrian safety projects at 0% match. The funding was available for non-urban parts of the state, so there weren't many parts of the MPO that were eligible. Two parts that were, we helped with applications. Two projects were awarded in Mars Hill. We worked closely with the town, to be frank, we have been trying to get Mars Hill a win for a number of years. Haven't been successful, so very happy to get a couple of wins for the town to help implement their bicycle and pedestrian plan. And one project was funded in the town of Waynesville. Three projects were funded, and just to note, we received a presentation a few weeks ago about how there probably weren't going to be many projects funded that weren't identified by DOT, so we got three. Good news. Other updates to note, Congress is looking at autonomous vehicle regulations. There is a draft bill that is working its way through committees to help clear the way for autonomous vehicles, especially autonomous freight, to use interstates and other strategic facilities without the need for a driver being present. Also the FBRMPO conference in 2026 is coming up in May. We are hosting, so I hope to see many familiar faces. That'll be held at the Crown Plaza. Thank you. Also, the Buncombe County Pedestrian Plan, which is one of the MPO-supported special studies, that's holding a community meeting next Thursday at
the Inca Candler Public Library.
Thank you. Another thing to note is the Safe Streets Notice of Funding Opportunity is expected to come out in March or April. I bring this to your guys' attention. All of your local governments are now eligible to apply for Safe Streets Implementation Funds. This MPO adopting and approving the Regional Safe Streets Plan is a requirement to go after Safe Streets Implementation Funds. Everyone here is, well, your local governments are eligible. You aren't. Your local government. Also to note, North Carolina hasn't received many implementation projects. I don't know how that's going to play into things, but I've got to think that we've got to have some competitive projects out there to implement. And finally, Bike to Work Day is coming up
On 13th.
30th, my goodness. Scratch that. Andy stopped me from making more mistakes.
Winter Bike to Work Day is an international event that's going to fall on February 13th this year, which is a Friday. We're going to have 3 different stations in Asheville for cyclists to stop and get free coffee and donuts.
Because this stuff is coming.
Also, bike helmet applications are hopefully opening up any second now. I'll send that out on the newsletter, but yeah. That's something the state puts out every year. It's a little late this year, but that should be
Next meeting, we'll be programming 5310 and DART funds based on the call for projects held this past fall. We'll also be talking about the MPO's local input point methodology as part of the prioritization process. And we may or may not have I-26 connector update from Nathan Moneyham at MPDOT. Perfect.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? Hearing none, I will adjourn.